Hello, and welcome to episode 100 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast. I'm Christine.
And I'm Sam. 100.
You took the words right out of my mouth, literally. Well, not really literally, but yes, that's exactly what I was going to say.
100.
I cannot believe 100 already.
That is crazy.
I know. It goes so fast.
It really does.
In no time at all, we'll be celebrating our 2-year podcast anniversary.
We will in just a few short weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I mean, you'll have to tell us if we've gotten better or if the show has improved. You know, that'd be good to hear.
Oh, we would love feedback.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because we plan on doing this for a while.
Yeah.
We're having a good time.
We'll get even better.
I can only hope so.
Yeah. Me too.
But yeah, that's pretty cool. 100 episodes.
Yeah.
You know, I don't recall back when we were planning episode 1 if I thought we'd even make it to 100 episodes.
I know. I was surprised when we made it to 10. Right?
Yes, that's right. You were running around the house shouting, "We didn't pod fade. We didn't pod fade."
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to stick with anything on a weekly basis.
I'm sure.
Let alone doing this. I don't know.
I mean, I do think that the fact that, you're retired has a lot to do with it.
Well, I mean, that helps. I have time to prep and research and all that jazz and edit and,
Yeah.
And I've been enjoying it.
Absolutely.
It's become my,
It's your job.
it's my job now.
It's your new job. Yeah.
I'd like to talk to management about maybe some pay would be good.
Well, I don't know who management is. I think you are management.
I am totally kidding. Our payment is anytime anybody comes up to us and says, "We love your podcast.
Yeah.
We listen to your podcast."
Absolutely.
That warms my heart so much and I'm always surprised every time.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah. There's nothing quite like it when we're at a Veg
Yeah.
Fest or something like that and someone comes up and says, "Hey, I'm a big fan of the show."
Yeah.
It's great.
I know. I just want to hug them every time somebody says
And you usually do.
I usually do.
Yes.
So if you ever see me in public and you don't like hugs, but tell me you're a listener, but be sure to say, but don't hug me.
Right. I think you're great. Don't hug me.
Because I will just, if we're bending, I will leap over the table and hug you. So anyway, yeah. 100. Congratulations to us. I am very proud of us.
I am too.
Yeah.
Nice job, Pooks.
Yeah. So this week was the second week that we hosted our niece Lucy.
Yes.
For her theater camp, which is called Playground here in Fredonia, New York.
Indeed.
And I thought I would talk a little bit about, well, number one, I'm sorry that Lucy can't be on the show.
Yeah, it was a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, she went home. And number two, I wanted to talk a little bit about what meals we made for her. Mm-hmm. And then I wanted to share, which I will share in the show notes and probably on our social media, some kid-friendly meals that we came up with last year in conjunction with Sarah Woodard. She put out a blog about kid-friendly vegan meals and whatnot. So anyway, I wanted to talk about that. So what did we feed Miss Lucy when we had her here?
Well, one of the things that we were responsible for with Lucy is, of course, she had to take a bagged lunch with her to camp every day. Now, Lucy is a pretty standard kid when it comes to a lot of the food that she eats. She is not particularly adventurous where it comes to food. So prior to her first week of Playground, I texted her and I said, "Okay, I'm going to the store to get some Lucy-approved food. What do you want?" Mm-hmm. And so every day for her lunch was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, some fruit, either some clementines or watermelon, usually either some animal crackers or Belvita, and then her favorite snack, which admittedly is non-vegan, but it's one of the small concessions we make for Lucy, is she loves vanilla yogurt-covered raisins.
Yeah, she'll eat a ton of those if you let her.
She really will.
Yeah.
So she gets a couple little boxes of yogurt-covered raisins in her lunch.
Now, to backtrack to the clementines.
Yeah.
I thought this was funny. Here's how specific Lucy is with her food. So the clementines we bought were not in their package. They had been taken out of their package and they were in a fruit basket.
Yes.
And she knew just by looking at them that they weren't the clementines that her parents usually buy for her that she likes.
Yes. The brand that she likes are the Cuties.
Right.
Clementines. And our grocery stores here do not stock Cuties. They have a different brand of clementines and tangerines and all of that. And she could tell.
Yeah, so she didn't eat them.
She didn't eat them.
She wouldn't eat them.
And the funny thing is that like, I could not believe she knew. Yeah, it was the middle of week 2 when she said, yeah, those aren't the ones I like. And I'm like, how do you know? They're clementines. Like, they're not that different.
Well, I think the Cuties brand, I think they're the ones that come in that little wooden box, right?
Well, they can. They don't necessarily. Yeah. They also come in bags.
They are, I think, highly colored. They're very, very bright orange.
Well, there's got to be something about them that she knew.
The ones we had looked, I think, too natural. I don't know. Kids are weird.
Yeah.
Kids are weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But other things we made for Lucy, she is a big fan of vegan chicken nuggets.
Oh, yeah.
So
loves them.
Absolutely loves them.
No matter what kind we give her. Mm-hmm. She liked, we had the Impossible Nuggets one night we gave her with some broccoli, and she mowed those down.
Yep.
And the other ones were the
Dino Bites.
Dino Bites.
Which are really Dino Buddies.
Dino Buddies.
But we call them Dino Bites because we like the throwback to Dino Bites. Yeah.
And the one night I made her those Dino Buddies, I'm like, how many Dino Buddies do you want, Lucy? She's like,
the whole box.
Just make the whole box. I'm like, I'm not making the whole box. So she's like, 13. Yes. I would like 13 Dino Buddies.
Yes.
Which is a lot of Dino Buddies.
It's quite a few.
She ended up not finishing them all.
No. Yes, because I actually took the 13th off her plate.
Yeah.
Because we were not having Dino Buddies as part of our meal.
Right.
So I snatched one from her plate, and she gave me a look that would melt people. But then as she got towards the end of her meal, there were 2 Dino Buddies left that she couldn't
finish them.
So, she made it to 10.
Yeah. I was impressed.
She made it to 10.
Yeah, I was impressed.
She is also a fan of spaghetti. So we did spaghetti with vegan meatballs. Mm-hmm. Our favorite vegan meatball brand, once again, is Earth Grown Vegan from Aldi. Mm-hmm. And she loves those. So that's awesome.
Yeah, she didn't have any problem with those. Then on another night, we made tacos using Impossible meat as the taco meat.
Yep.
And she mowed those down. She had 4.
She had 4 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, we tend to keep things pretty simple and straightforward.
Right.
And we don't make her eat what we're eating. Although we did think it was funny that twice while she was here, Christine was cooking tofu.
Yeah.
And Lucy asked, "Ooh, what smells so good?"
Yep.
And in both cases, it was tofu.
But she wouldn't try it.
No.
I mean, she wouldn't even try it.
Nope.
I'm like, you just spent, I don't know how long saying how good it smells in the house. What are you cooking? It smells so good. But when I said it's tofu, she's like, oh. And wouldn't even consider trying it.
No.
And the second time I was making a tofu scramble.
Right.
Same thing. Ooh, what's Christine cooking? It smells so good.
Although, to be fair, I don't think Lucy would love a tofu scramble.
No, she might not, but I think, if you like the way something smells,
then chances are you might like the way it tastes.
Yeah, give it a shot. At least give it a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And she fully admits that she is not very adventurous when it comes to food.
Oh, she absolutely does.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, we could talk about the fruit snack incident. But we'll leave that for another time. I will just let you all wonder about the fruit snack
Lucy,
incident.
Should we call you out on the fruit snack incident? It was pretty funny.
It was pretty funny.
It all boils down to Lucy likes a specific color of fruit snack.
Well, no, it's that
flavor of fruit snack.
One of the snacks one day at playground were little bags of Welch's fruit snacks, which are in fact vegan, and so
that's just fructose or pectin in
it's
them.
Pectin.
Right? There's no
there's no gelatin. It's pectin. So So Lucy likes the fruit snacks in kind of the turquoise blue bag.
Okay.
Now, by the time everybody had had their snacks, apparently that was the most popular color. And her friend went to get her a second little bag of fruit snacks, but brought back a bag that was purple.
Oh, no.
Not blue. And so she opens up the bag and she takes out a fruit snack that was apparently a different color than the fruit snack she is used to. And she sniffed it and she just was not sure about this fruit snack. And she tasted it. It turned out it was cherry and she liked it.
Yeah.
Then she pulls out another one that's a darker purple, maybe even bluish color. And she sniffs it and she tastes it and it's blueberry and she doesn't like it. But the whole thing was that some of the kind of counselors at the camp who are mostly college kids.
Right.
Many of them are my students, actually. You know, she wanted a counselor like there with her to like witness the consumption of the fruit snack. It was very, very strange and very funny. Yeah. So this is how particular she is about what she eats.
I do like that she has a really good sense of humor about her kind of food phobias that she has.
It is kind of wonderful.
She finds it funny. She knows other people think it's weird, so she rolls with it, you know? So, yeah, okay. So this purple fruit snack is really weird, and I want everyone around me to know that I think it's really weird. when somebody else might just pop that thing into their mouth and not even think of it.
Sure.
Anyway, funny. She's a funny kid.
She is, but she's great. We love having her come to stay.
Yeah.
We look forward to the 2 weeks that we have her every year. And, you know, it sounds like in the not too distant future, we might get her for a few weekends here and there, like just for fun.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be good. It's quiet in the house now.
It really is.
Yeah.
Those cats are like, where is that small person?
Those of you with teenagers or preteens, you notice it when they're not here.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a deafening silence.
It really is. The difference between Sunday morning right before Owen and Lucy left and Sunday afternoon was really quite remarkable.
Yeah, it was staggering how quiet it was in the house. Anyway, hey, moving on. I have an update on the Pastelitos.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah, we talked about Pastelitos last week, and I, for some reason, was thinking that they were like a Jamaican thing. Mm-hmm. What I'm thinking of are called patties.
Okay.
Like every culture kind of has that thing a big thing wrapped in dough, like the empanadas.
Yes, like the empanada and the samosa. And
yeah, but it turns out that Pastelitos are actually Cuban.
Okay, cool.
And after some research, I found that the origins of the pastelito are a little hazy. Some claim that it was a Lebanese immigrant trying to duplicate baklava because a lot of pastelitos are sweet.
Oh, interesting.
They fill them with fruit. And others credit the Viennese for bringing it to Cuba or have theorized that it was invented by enslaved people working in Spanish and Cuban sugar mills.
Oh, wow. Okay, so all kinds of different potential sources.
Yes, but it is considered a Cuban treat.
Okay, good to know.
So there you go.
Yes. Now, the Cuban treat that we had at Veg Fest was not sweet. It was savory. It had an Impossible or Beyond meat and a vegan cheese and some vegetables, onions and peppers, that kind of thing in there. And it was absolutely delicious.
Yeah. So they do come in sweet and savory versions.
Cool.
So there you go.
Thank you for that information.
The more you know.
Indeed.
I think last thing we want to talk about just in our opening here is where you can catch us, where you can find us.
Yeah, we're going to be a bunch of places. August and September are going to be a little bit bonkers for us. Yeah. It's like the Western New York Veg Fest was the start of our season.
Yeah, it was, really.
Yeah, it really was. So our next Veg Fest will be the Burlington Veg Fest this coming Saturday, August 19th, which I am super excited for.
Yeah, looking forward to
We
that.
will not be vending, so we will get to spend the entire day wandering the fest and sampling fabulous food and checking in with all of the organizations and vendors that are hanging out there, which is super exciting.
Yeah, the Burlington Veg Fest does a fantastic job of getting a lot of advocacy groups, political groups, and a lot of rescue organizations and stuff like that on top of tons of great food. So it's a really well-rounded festival.
And it's just a really great location.
Yeah.
It's in Burloak Park in Burlington, Ontario. So if you're anywhere near the area, like get on your ArriveCan app, do the 1-day kind of arrival and departure and just check it out because it really is wonderful. Then the following weekend, we're going to be at the Fredonia Farm Festival. Now, this is a Cucumber Craftworks only event.
It's not a vegan event.
It's not a vegan event.
Yeah.
And so, we're going to downplay that just a little bit. But I will be there with Christine selling all of our Cucumber Craftworks stuff.
And I will be talking about veganism with anybody that's willing to listen to me.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, we both will.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then on Saturday, September 23rd, we will be in Syracuse for the Syracuse Veg Fest, which we are super, super excited for.
Yes.
Can't wait for that.
And we are vending, and we're also slated to speak at the Veg Fest.
Crazy.
We really don't know what we're talking about or anything at this point, but I'm sure it'll all work out before then. So.
Unfortunately, we're good at winging things.
Yeah, we can wing it.
We can do. We can do.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. And then finally, we will be at the Panama Rocks Foliage Fest, September 30th and October 1st. And that, again, is a primarily Cucumber Craftworks event.
Yes, not a vegan-only event.
Right, it's not a vegan-only event.
Yeah.
They will have non-vegan food vendors there, but it's more than anything kind of a venue for arts and crafts vendors.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. And if you've never been to Panama Rocks, if you're ever in the area, you should definitely check it out.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool.
It's a beautiful area. In the Ice Age, when the icebergs moved through, glaciers moved through the area, all these giant rocks came up from deep in the earth. And I mean, they're huge. They're the size of buildings.
Oh, they're incredible.
And so there's trails through them and everything. It's a really fun day. It's a nice outing, especially in the fall. Yeah.
Yeah. Get a nice, crisp, cool morning and head out there. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
Truly fabulous. So that's where we'll be.
If you want to find us.
If you want to find us.
Don't want to find us. If you want to avoid us.
Don't go to those places.
You know where not to go.
You know where not to go. That's right. Perfect. Excellent.
Hey, we finally have a recipe again.
Oh my gosh. It feels like it's been a while.
It has. It has been a while.
Well,
3 weeks or something like that.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. We're back on it now.
So here is this week's recipe from our vegan kitchen. This week, I made my Mediterranean pasta.
This is one of my favorite dishes of Christine's, and I know I say that a lot, but this really is just wonderful. It's a beautiful pasta dish with just kind of a creamy, not creamy, but a very light kind of olive oil, garlic.
It's garlic and olive oil.
Yeah. Kind of base on the pasta. And then it's got loads of beautiful sauteed vegetables, including Kalamata olives and roasted red peppers and capers. We had some zucchini on there tonight. And then topped off with a little bit of vegan feta. It's absolutely beautiful. It's simple and lovely and a really just kind of hearty, filling dish.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite ways to make pasta, and a dish like this is nice because you can add whatever vegetables you have in your refrigerator that maybe they're getting ready to go bad or something on you.
It's a good clean out the fridge recipe.
Yeah, it's a good fridge clean out. Yeah, that's not what we did this week, but I have in the past used it as a fridge clean out recipe.
For sure. For sure.
And if you want the full recipe will be up on our Patreon page for our patrons. If you'd like that recipe, become a patron.
There you go.
And I'd like to hear that people have made some of those recipes, and I'd like to hear what they think of them.
That'd be great.
So,
moving on to our noteworthy section, COP28, we have the UAE hosted UN Climate Summit to serve mostly vegan food.
Yeah, this is kind of good news.
Yeah. I mean, I find the mostly interesting. But,
I know, right?
Following heavy backlash for its meat-intensive menus in previous years, the UN has confirmed it will serve mostly vegan food at the upcoming climate change conference, COP28, in Dubai. The landmark decision is a first for the intergovernmental body and comes after years of campaigning by vegan activists. Coinciding with the UAE's Year of Sustainability, the move is a firm acknowledgement of the impact of the animal agriculture industry on climate change. Last year, the annual summit held in Egypt hosted its first ever pavilion dedicated to food system changes, while Glasgow's COP26 saw the UN introduce climate labels to the meat-heavy food menu, but failed to add food and livestock farming to the agenda. However, in a response to a letter from activists demanding at least 3/4 of this year's menu be vegan, UAE's COP28 President-designate Dr. Sultan Al Jaber confirmed the conference's decision to go plant-forward. Sent in April, the letter was co-signed by the Youth and Children constituency of the UNFCCC and over 140 youth and civil society organizations who teamed up with advocacy group Pro-Veg International. Apart from demanding a predominantly vegan menu, the letter also called for it to be regionally sourced where possible and culturally inclusive. Progress on climate-friendly catering has already been made at previous COPs and major climate events in Bonn, Glasgow, and Stockholm, the letter read. Yet, despite persistent demands from attendees, especially youth, the food on offer at these events has been out of step with the climate emergency. In his response, Al Jaber said, the COP28 presidency has a firm focus on transformational action on food systems within the wider global climate change agenda. As a part of this, we intend to demonstrate sustainable food systems in action at COP28 itself. My team has been working to ensure the availability of plant-based food options that are affordable, nutritious, and locally and regionally sourced, with clear emissions labeling. Following this decision, a document leaked to The Guardian revealed a list of sensitive and touchy issues facing the UAE's presidency of COP28. While the first 3 pages, filled with COP28 UAE key messages and narrative points, nod to renewable energy and hydrogen, they fail to mention fossil fuels, oil, or gas. Despite its presidency, the UAE has the world's 3rd largest net zero busting plans for oil and gas expansion, according to The Guardian.
So, yeah, while a lot of people will look at a headline about this and go, hey, yay, big vegan win, it's really not. I mean, I guess we can say, good for them that they're going to serve some vegan food, but it means nothing if they're not talking about how animal agriculture is affecting our environment and our planet and climate change.
Yes.
And so great, put labels on the meat products that say what their effects on the environment are, but don't talk about it.
Right. Yeah. So with the focus of the conversation still being pretty heavily on fossil fuels, sure. I mean, a menu full of vegan or mostly vegan food. Yeah, that's great that they're not serving a menu that is heavy with meat products. I suppose that's, that's something.
It's something.
But in terms of the long-term agenda, it's a small win. It's a very small win.
Yeah, definitely. I had a conversation recently with a friend of mine on social media he's a good guy. Don't get me wrong. He's not vegan. He's very left and posts a lot of stuff about how government is not acting to address climate change. And he made this post about, how reducing fossil fuel use and all this. And I just chimed in, yes, and you never, ever hear them discuss the effects of animal agriculture on our waterways, on deforestation, the fact that their feed and grazing lands are destroying acres and acres and
land
acres.
Degradation.
And complete ecosystems have disappeared because of cattle farming. Mm-hmm. And I just said, this should be definitely included in the conversation, and you never hear it included in the conversation, right, including climate activists like you. Mm-hmm. it should be included in your conversation, and you should at least be thinking about it when you're purchasing those products.
Sure.
That I know you don't want to be contributing to climate change and you want our legislators to do something about it. Well, we can do something about it. Mm-hmm. Let's do something about it. And then somebody responded after that he wanted me to provide data to convince him that animal farming was a problem.
So provide data. That's easy enough.
Yeah. So I provided him with some data, but I said, look, why would you not just do something if you can do something? It's the same people that don't take a straw at Dunkin' Donuts, but then go and have a fish dinner. You know?
Sure.
You have to look deeper at the problem. And you can Google, if you don't like what I'm saying, or if you don't believe what I'm saying, you can Google the data. It's all out there. You know, I'm not here to provide data. I was just saying that it should become part of the conversation, and that climate activists, if you want to consider yourself a climate activist, you should definitely educate yourself on all of the causes of climate change, not just fossil fuel use.
Well, I agree with you completely.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't think it's, well, I think probably the response to the request for data was maybe your friend had not seen anything that seen or heard or read anything that contributed to the idea that animal agriculture impacts climate change.
That comment didn't come from my friend. It came from somebody else, a third party that commented on the...
Oh, I see. My apologies.
On the thread. Somebody I didn't even know.
Okay.
If it had been my friend, I would have provided him all the data, you know. But it was a conversation between me, but that's social media, you know.
It is.
It's a public conversation, and people are free to join in on it. So anyway, my point was that, I mean, you know, you hear people and vegans saying you can't call yourself a climate activist if you're not vegan. Well, you can, but you have to educate yourself and understand and admit that there are things that you could be doing that you're not. Right?
Well, sure. And I think that's true of any kind of activism.
Yeah.
You know, in any social justice movement, you know, there are things that we can do on a daily basis that contribute to that movement's goals.
Yeah.
So yes, I would agree. You know, that if you're not doing those things, you should then say, well, you know, I understand I could be doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm not. And I acknowledge that I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Absolutely. Anyway, that was just an anecdotal thing. I guess how I would sum the COP28 thing up is just make it part of the conversation.
Absolutely.
Not just...
It does need to be part of the conversation.
Part of the menu. Moving on. Oh, are we up to our main topic?
It seems that we are.
In this week's main topic, we're going to be reviewing the Netflix documentary, Poisoned.
We have by far the safest food supply in the entire world.
The safest food supply in the world.
Let's remember one thing. We have the safest food supply in the world right here in the U.S.
It's laughable. We don't have the safest food system in the world.
Now, interesting, the article that we have up regarding this particular documentary, which is about the U.S. food industry and how contaminants and bacteria, essentially, are a very common part of our food industry and can cause serious health issues to humans. The title of the article is Poisoned Documentary About U.S. Food Industry Leaves Viewers Vowing to Go Vegan. But right underneath the title is a quote. And the quote says, "Thinking I'm a go vegan, boy, was I wrong."
Right.
And it's interesting because watching this film just a few moments ago, actually, we watched this just before we started podcasting today. I don't see this as a film that would influence people to go vegan specifically.
No. But this is why I thought we should watch it, because I saw several articles saying that people were considering going vegan after they watched this movie.
Which I can understand.
Yeah.
at some parts, but not at others.
Sure.
Okay. So, for example, they spent a great deal of time talking about contamination, pathogenic contamination, such as E. coli and Campylobacter and all of that good. I was about to say all of that good stuff. All of that not so good stuff.
Not good stuff.
Not good stuff.
Yeah.
And they focused it on the chicken industry because it apparently is safe to assume that if you are buying raw chicken in a grocery store, you have to assume that it is contaminated with Salmonella, Campylobacter, Listeria, something along those lines, because it probably is. The likelihood is that it is contaminated. Now, of course, that contamination is often mitigated through cooking, but that doesn't mean that you're not contaminating the surfaces of your home as you prepare the chicken, et cetera, anything that you touch. So in that way, I can understand. And I know that since we've gone vegan, I feel like our kitchen is far cleaner than it was when we were preparing chicken or we were preparing fish.
Sure.
So yes, but on the other side of the coin is the fact that one of the most frequently contaminated foods in the country right now is romaine lettuce.
Right. It's still an issue. The romaine lettuce.
The romaine lettuce is a big issue.
Yeah, but why are lettuces contaminated?
Yes, exactly.
That's the big question.
It is the big question. And the big question is that in a lot of cases, the farms that are producing the contaminated lettuce are close to large-scale feedlots, largely for the beef industry.
Yeah.
And so animal waste runoff is getting to these vegetables.
Yeah, it ends up in their irrigation system.
Ends up in the irrigation system.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so really the question comes down to, or at least this is what I got from the movie, that the question comes down to regulation, that there is no one out there who is specifically tasked with regulating how the runoff from the beef industry affects an organic lettuce farm. Yeah. And how that will impact the quality of the product being sold to consumers and what the impact on consumers' health will be.
Yeah, it's kind of insane that there is no regulations. There's no oversight for that water that's being used for irrigation. One gentleman did say that it is randomly tested throughout the year, but they never look at the fact that the animal farming operations in the area are causing when they find bad samples. They never address that. They never say, well, guess what? You can't have a lettuce farm next to a feedlot. I mean, they showed some videos of lettuce farms, I believe, in Yuma, Arizona.
Yeah.
The feedlot was literally across a road. Hundreds of thousands of cattle.
Yep.
Was directly across the street from these giant produce farms.
Yes.
How is that? I mean, how did they let that happen? You know, just...
Well, and the problem is that, you know, the organizations that are supposed to protect consumers, that are supposed to guarantee the safety of the food supply, really have no teeth.
Right. Right.
There were interviews with, high-ranking officials in the FDA and the USDA.
Yeah.
And for both of them, the line was, we don't have that authority. We don't have that authority. We don't have that authority. And so the question becomes, well, who does?
Yeah, I believe the woman from the USDA actually said, if you have a problem with what we're doing or how we're handling it, talk to Congress.
Yeah.
That was her answer.
And that it was not her place to support legislation, that she was part of a, neutral governmental agency.
Right. But then in another part of the film, a gentleman said that that woman in the USDA absolutely has the power to at least categorize certain bacteria like salmonella,
right,
as like level, whatever they call them, level 4 or whatever, contagions.
Yes.
Therefore, kicking in laws that already exist.
Right.
She has the power to make it happen, but she's not doing it because of the strong lobby.
The lobby.
Yeah.
Right.
So her answer, talk to Congress, is really kind of a little bit of bunk.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, Sandra Eskin, her name is. USDA Deputy Undersecretary for Food Safety.
There you go.
Yeah, and the FDA official that they interviewed was Frank Yiannis. Mm-hmm. He's the Deputy Commissioner for Food Policy and Response.
Yeah.
For the FDA.
Yeah, so, I mean, to me, I suppose what I really got from this movie was just how deep kind of the hypocrisy in American governmental systems runs.
Yeah.
That anytime you hear people talking about the U.S. food supply, it's, America's food is the safest in the world. It's very clear that it's not.
Yeah, it's a flat out lie.
It's a flat out lie. Europe has actually done a great deal, has really started hyper-regulating their meat industries and have reduced these kinds of bacterial contaminations by more than half in the past 5 years.
They even have
huge.
Now, these are animal products marked as contagion-free.
Yes.
So
Canada does a better job than we do by far. And
Yeah.
so, no, it's not fair to say that the U.S. food supply is the safest in the world. It most certainly is not. Too much responsibility is being placed on the consumer. The idea that, I loved this part actually, that it's okay. The idea that it's okay to have salmonella and Campylobacter and Listeria in chicken. It's okay to sell it that way because the housewife who is responsible for protecting the family is going to know how to cook that chicken to make it safely edible.
Hello, 1950 called.
Hello, 1950 called.
Yeah.
But it seems that we're still operating under that consumption.
Absolutely.
Sorry, not consumption, assumption.
Yeah.
That it is the consumer's responsibility to know that this is a potentially harmful product and we need to be careful about how we handle it, cook it, and consume it. According to me, you clean up the food system and you make sure that the food that is being sold to the American public is safe.
Yeah.
Or as safe as it can practicably be. Because it's probably impossible to make everything 100% safe all the time.
I do think, though, that this film can be kind of touted as a slightly vegan film because of the footage that they managed to get from Tyson Foods.
And Purdue.
I'm sorry, it was Purdue.
It was Purdue. Inside the chicken facility, that was all Purdue.
Now, this chicken facility that Purdue lets the press see, we all know is a set-up facility that is, like everything's supposed to be perfect and pristine. Because Purdue's chickens don't come from a factory at Purdue. No. They come from hundreds and thousands of farmers across the country that farm chickens for Purdue through a lottery system. It's a whole other thing. That's a whole other show. But so they said they will allow them, the filmmakers, to come in and see their facilities.
Yes.
Even the best case scenario that Purdue could come up with was horrific.
Yes.
Right?
It was.
Yeah. So I think that could open people's eyes.
And that footage, just again, I mean, I've seen much worse, but I was still tearing up. Like, I had a really hard time getting through the part of the film where they're showing baby chicks hatching and then they're being, subjected to kind of the assembly line system where they're being, tagged and sorted and all of this and then trucked to the actual farm buildings where they're going to be raised and they're going to turn into full-grown chickens in 45 days and then they're packed into cages and sent off to slaughter, and then it shows the slaughtering process and and I can't watch it. Like, I actually can't watch it.
It's a hideous process, and The animals are definitely treated as commodities, as things. They go, the little baby, fluffy little baby chicks are going down conveyor belts,
And
all confused.
You can see how confused and just distressed they are.
Yeah, then they're just dumped into boxes, and then they go down an assembly line, and then they're sprayed with God knows what.
Who knows what? Yeah.
Probably to control pests and lices and stuff like that. And then, like Sam said, they're packed into trucks, and 45 days later, they end up in the grocery store.
Yep.
So they're not even full-grown chickens. They're babies.
They are. They're babies.
Yeah. So even the best-case scenario that Purdue could put forth, I think still might convince some people that this is terrible. This is not a compassionate way to live.
Right.
I
mean, it's also a good thing to realize that, of course, your chicken, your beef, your pork, all of those things are labeled as USDA approved or, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Or that it's been inspected by the FDA. But this was actually a statistic that I found a little bit mind-blowing, was that in a standard Purdue chicken factory on the slaughter floor, once the chickens have been killed and defeathered and all of that, and you're seeing the actual carcasses going to be cut into pieces, a single inspector is looking at 127 chickens a minute.
Yeah, looking at them.
Looking at them, just putting eyes on them.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what that would... I mean, that's the law.
They have to see them.
Yeah.
They have to look at the chickens. But your average inspector is looking at 127 chickens a minute.
Yeah. And didn't they say that law went into effect during the Roosevelt administration?
I believe so, because it had something to do with the meat packing plants in Chicago.
Yeah. In 1906, I think they said, the Roosevelt administration made these regulations that a food inspector had to be in these plants.
Yes.
With eyes on these chickens. And I'm not exactly sure what exactly they can see.
Well, I'm sure in 1906, they weren't processing nearly the number of chickens that they're processing now.
Right.
So I'm sure that was probably quite different.
Yeah. But you can't see bacteria,
No, you can't.
So
Absolutely
it seems like a waste of money.
Indeed.
Yeah. But again, to go back to how I think that this film actually can turn people vegan, not turn people vegan, but make people think twice about their food choices. Like when they were talking about the lettuce and they had those aerial shots of the feedlots,
which I also couldn't look at.
Yeah, it's just acres and acres and acres of cows packed in to these pens. I don't know how anybody can look at that and go, yeah, that seems like a viable way to get your nutrition.
I look at that and all I see is unnecessary suffering.
Suffering, yeah.
That's
you just see suffering. Yeah. One thing I think this film did really good was they brought that human element in like right away in the beginning.
Yeah. With
that one guy, Darren Detweiler, his name was, whose young son got E. coli from eating a hamburger at Jack in the Box.
Yep.
His son was like 2 or something?
About 18 months,
yeah. And it was terrible, of course. His son died.
Oh, it's just awful.
Yeah, his body shut down and organ failure and everything. It was terrible. But he completely changed his career and is now a professor of food safety.
Of food safety, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
And there were a number of stories throughout the film, of people getting sick from various contaminants in meat. And actually, I believe in one case on lettuce.
Lettuce and peanuts.
Oh, peanuts. Oh, the peanut
They
story.
talked about peanuts, too, which just happened again. This film was made, you could tell because people were masking, that this film
was made during COVID.
Was made like 2019 or 2020.
It was released this year.
Yeah,
it's a new film.
It was just released, but I'm saying the filming occurred, I think, during the height of COVID because people were still masking and stuff.
Sure.
And they were talking about a past episode of salmonella happening within the peanut industry.
Yes.
In like 2009 or something like that. But it just happened again.
It did.
Just like last year, right?
So, I mean, and I totally see what you mean about, seeing the conditions that animals are kept in and seeing the process of how animals are treated through their lifetime, their short lifetimes as food animals.
Right.
That could be a pro-vegan message. But for me, being vegan, it kind of made me go, wow, nothing's safe, is it?
Yeah. Lettuce,
there was a little bit
vegetables.
of that, lettuce, other vegetables like sprouts.
Cantaloupe.
Yeah,
the one guy said he would never. The interviewer asked, I don't remember exactly which food scientist it was. Which foods do you avoid?
Yeah.
And he said, of course, romaine lettuce.
Right. But his number one was cantaloupe.
Because you can't sufficiently wash the outer skin before you cut into it.
And once you get a knife through the upper skin, you're contaminating the flesh on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. I was really bummed about sprouts because I love sprouts.
I had heard issues with sprouts years ago. There were issues with sprouts, and it could have been listeria or something on the sprouts. I don't know why the sprouts have an issue. It's probably also a growing situation.
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised.
Where they're grown.
Yeah.
So.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then, of course, lettuce. We eat a lot of lettuce.
We do.
We eat a lot of lettuce.
We do. We do eat a lot of lettuce. They recommend that you stay away from the bagged lettuce.
Right.
And that you buy whole head lettuce, which I can tell you is hard to find in a grocery store anymore.
Around here, certainly, yes.
And when you do find it, it is very expensive.
Yes.
Yeah. But even if you buy head lettuce, make sure you are washing your lettuce
really, really well.
Thoroughly.
Yep.
Here's something that came to mind when they were talking about the romaine situation when it first came up years ago. I don't know, was it 90s maybe? That a situation came up with lettuce?
I think so.
And I remember them reporting and blaming it on farm workers.
Oh.
That the farm workers were contaminating the lettuce, that the migrant farm workers were going to the bathroom in the fields or not washing their hands or whatever. When the whole time, I'm sure it had to do with the water that they were using to irrigate the lettuce and where that water came from and its proximity to animal farms and all that. But I remember specifically that they blamed it on farm workers.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
They want to shift responsibility somewhere.
Right.
So, again, shift responsibility to the most marginalized. It's just how it's done. I thought it was very well done. It made me sad. Made me angry.
Yeah, I thought it was a well-made documentary. And I think they had a good, well-rounded bunch of people that they were talking to, on both sides of the issue. The only person I think that really made us mad was the woman who Trump appointed.
A few moments later.
Okay, so the woman's name was Mindy Brashears. And she was appointed by Trump as the undersecretary to the USDA. And why didn't we like her?
We didn't like her because she received all kinds of grant money from all of the major animal food producers, essentially skewing, I would say, the results that came out of her studies. And actually, I think the largest one was from the beef industry. The subsidies and grants that she received were upwards of $3 million.
Yeah, here it is. Industry grants received for Dr. Brasher's research. From the U.S. Poultry and Egg Association, $53,157. From the National Pork Producers Council, $82,500. From the American Meat Institute, $608,253, and from the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, $3,670,964. Let's trust what she has to say about food safety.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that was one of the areas of the film that, kind of ticked us off.
Kind of ticked us off a little, even though we know that it's where the money comes from.
We do.
We know that this is a huge lobby, that the meat industry has a huge lobby, and that any information coming out about food safety, about humane slaughter, humane farming, any information basically coming out about animal agriculture
It's bogus.
is false. And the people that are giving us this information are bought and sold by the meat industry.
Yes. And it's that simple.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting that they included her. Mm-hmm. And they kind of grilled her pretty good.
They did. You know, and as with the FDA and USDA folks, you know, she had very canned answers.
Yeah.
To all of the questions that the filmmaker had.
Frank Yiannis, I'm not exactly sure how you say his last name. The FDA Deputy Commissioner for Food Policy and Response definitely had a canned response when they were wrapping it up. He said what they all say, that the United States has one of the safest food systems in the world.
And we are working together, whoever we are.
Yeah,
I don't know who we
working
is.
together to always make it better.
Right.
Yeah. Bloody blah 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 exactly. Lip service.
To wrap up the conversation, I would recommend the film. Absolutely.
I would too. I think it's pretty eye opening.
Mm-hmm. In a number of different ways.
Yeah,
yes.
in a number of ways.
Yes.
Yeah. I had no idea that, I mean, I guess I did know about why the lettuces are being poisoned.
Well, I mean, it's a very logical reason.
It's a logical thing, but it's one of those things that it doesn't really click with you until you see something like this, you know? So,
sure.
Yeah. So, like I said, they recommend if you buy lettuces to stay away from romaine if you can. I know we have romaine in our refrigerator right now.
Yes, we do.
And buy head lettuce instead of bagged
whenever
lettuce.
possible.
They didn't say anything about boxed lettuces. Are they including boxed lettuces?
I'm assuming so.
They have to be, right?
I mean, like I said, I'm assuming so.
Yeah.
I don't know for fact.
Yeah.
Whether they are or not.
Yeah. And I guess you can look on those lettuces, and if they come from Yuma, Arizona, or anywhere in California,
Salinas in particular.
Yeah, Salinas, don't buy them.
Right.
If they come from Mexico, which a lot of them do,
yes,
you're probably good.
Probably.
Which is insane.
It's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mexico.
Yeah. I know when I get like produce, and first of all, I'll like pick up some produce that I know we can grow right here in our backyard, and it's come from the Dominican Republic or something, because our food is shipped and it comes from all over the world, and our food goes all over the world, which is why something like this is so important, because we could be poisoning the entire globe, you know.
You're not wrong.
But I know when I see something that says it was a product of Canada, I breathe a little easier.
Yeah, me too.
You know.
Gotta love those Canadians.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, we recommend the film. Check it out.
Indeed.
Let us know what you think.
And that's going to pull us right into this week's Reason to Be Vegan.
Okay.
Once again, these are coming from 72 Reasons to Be Vegan, Why Plant-Based, Why Now by Jean Stone and Kathy Preston. And per usual, I have chosen a reason that fits right into today's main topic.
It's appropriate. Topic appropriate.
It is topic appropriate. This week's reason is reason number 39. Foodborne illness is killing us.
Well, there you go.
Salmonella, E. coli 0157H7, Listeria monocytogenes, Campylobacter. Not exactly household names, but they are household presences. These bacteria and viruses are the top 4 causes of foodborne illness, a problem that sickens 48 million Americans each year, hospitalizes 128,000, and kills 3,000, according to the Centers for Disease Control. Where do they come from? Foods are one source, but some foods are more responsible than others. According to a recent CDC report, animal foods collectively resulted in more illness than plant foods, with eggs linked to the highest number of salmonella cases, beef to the most E. coli 0157H7, raw milk and soft cheeses to the most Listeria, and dairy to the most Campylobacter. Also, certain fatal diseases are found only in animal foods. These include brain-destroying Creutzfeldt-Jakob, or mad cow disease, caused by proteins called prions in sick beef cattle, and vibriosis, a nasty illness caused by the Vibrio bacteria found in shellfish, especially oysters. That's why preparing meat, poultry, and seafood requires many careful steps to protect yourself and your family from pathogens. You know the drill. Don't let the raw flesh touch any countertops, utensils, or dishes, or you'll have to wipe them down with antimicrobial spray or run them through a hot dishwasher. Cook the food to a minimum internal temperature to kill all those germs, but don't char it too much because overcooked meat produces cancer-causing compounds. Same with eggs and milk products. Don't eat unpasteurized dairy because disease-causing microbes thrive there. In other words, cook animal protein too little and risk foodborne illness. Cook it too much and risk cancer. But with veggies and fruits? For the most part, you can simply wash the skins and eat them. Or, as with bananas and avocados, simply remove the skin before eating. No surprise, then, that the go-to website on this subject, stopfoodborneillness.org, makes it clear that a vegan diet does reduce risk of foodborne illness related to meals made with meat, eggs, and dairy. However, vegans should still pay attention to food safety, since produce can become contaminated. Here are some simple tips adapted from the Stop Foodborne Illness site. Select unbruised fresh fruits and vegetables, which have a lesser chance of being contaminated. Properly clean all produce. For tips, check out the opposite page, which is based on a fruit and veggie safety poster at the cdc.gov/food safety. Store your produce properly to help it stay fresh longer. Prevent spoilage and bacterial growth by refrigerating or freezing cut-up produce and salads within a couple hours. 1 hour if it's more than 90 degrees outside. And here's a frustrating fact, also from 72 Reasons to be Vegan.
Okay.
Lettuce has taken a lot of heat for recent E. coli outbreaks, but E. coli bacteria live in the intestines of animals. When plants become contaminated, it's because they came into contact with infected animal waste that was used to fertilize crops or that leaked into waterways. Either that or some human didn't wash their hands before making a salad.
I wash my hands so much when I'm cooking.
Yeah.
In the wintertime, my hands
get cracked.
They get chapped.
Yep, mine do too.
Yeah, but there you go. Once again, we can't get away from the fact that the animal agriculture industry is just ruining our lives.
No, not really.
You know?
I mean,
despite ruining the lives of millions and millions, billions, really, if you include the fishing industry.
And chickens.
Of animals and chickens a year, they're poisoning our produce. Come on, people. Come on.
So there you go, right there. Another reason to go vegan.
Yeah. That's a good one. That brings us to our very favoritist part of the show. Now, favoritist isn't a word. Is it?
I'll allow it. It's not, but I'll allow it.
This is our favorite part of the show.
It really is.
It's time for our listener shout out.
Just want to give a shout out to all my fans watching. I love you guys. I love you.
This week's listener shout out goes to Emily Doucette. Originally from Iowa, Emily now lives in Syracuse, New York. She is an active member of the Syracuse Vegan Living Program, where she helps to provide resources for those who want to go vegan and those who already are. Thanks for listening, Emily. We hope to meet you at the Syracuse Veg Fest.
Oh, contact us with your t-shirt size and your address, Emily, so we can send you a CNC swag bag. You can either email us at compassionandcucumbers@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram or private message us on Facebook. And thank you so much for listening.
Yes, Emily, thank you for listening. I'm really looking forward to meeting you in a few weeks.
I hope we do meet you. We'll see you at VegFest, hopefully.
Yeah.
That brings us to housekeeping.
Sure does.
Need to wrap this thing up.
Per usual, we want to try your favorite vegan recipes, and we want to include them in our listener recipes segment. So email or DM us the vegan meals you love to make, so we can try them and feature them on the podcast.
And here are some things that you can subscribe to, because subscribing to things is fun. Subscribe. I love subscribing to
I
things.
find myself unsubscribing more than I find myself subscribing.
Well, eventually you do. I know for some reason it's easier for me to delete 27 emails out of my inbox every morning than it is to go down to the bottom of the email and unsubscribe. But I think subscribing to things is fun, and these are some fun things you can subscribe to. You can subscribe to our YouTube, where we post every episode of the show and some other fun stuff. You can subscribe to our newsletters, which come out twice a week. And you can subscribe to our Patreon. You can become a patron and get all the recipes from our vegan kitchen segment. And all the links to all of these things will be in the show notes.
You can also find us and follow us on Happy Cow if you'd like to know what restaurants we visited and what we thought of them. You can find Christine as Compassion and Cucumbers, and you can find me as C&C Vegan.
You can donate to our Food Empowerment Project fundraiser at our Buy Me a Coffee site. It's buymeacoffee.com/cucumbers, and we match all your donations there. If you're not familiar with the Food Empowerment Project, they seek to create a more just and sustainable world by recognizing the power of one's food choices. They encourage healthy food choices that reflect a more compassionate society by spotlighting the abuse of animals on farms, the depletion of natural resources, unfair working conditions for produce workers, and the unavailability of healthy foods in low-income areas.
Want to get a listener shout out like Emily did today? Send us a DM or an email letting us know you listen and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, I want to add something to those things you can follow. You can follow Sam's Etsy site. It's Cucumber Craftworks on Etsy, and take a look at her scarves and jewelry. She's been making jewelry like mad. What else do you make? Scarves, jewelry, bead art. Oh, you have these really
lovely
cute
little
bags.
Stuffed animals and bags and all kinds of things. I'm always making new stuff. I know fingerless gloves are coming up for the fall season. Been doing lots of hats. Doing, like all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Whenever my brain takes me.
Yeah, these stuffed animals were very popular at Western New York Veg Fest.
They
and
were.
25% of the profits from those stuffed animals goes to Mockingbird Farms Animal Sanctuary.
That's right. And again, we will match that as well.
Oh, awesome. So definitely check that out. And of course, everything that she makes is vegan.
Absolutely.
And cruelty-free.
Absolutely.
Oh, hey, want to leave us a review on your podcast app? Well, you can do that. Go to your podcast app and leave us a review if it allows. If it doesn't allow you to leave us a review, please rate us. Either 1 through 5, preferably 5 stars.
We haven't heard about stars in a little while because I've been doing that part of the housekeeping.
I think it's kind of annoying. But yeah, rate and review us because it helps other people find us.
There you go.
Yeah.
Other things that help people find us, go ahead and share the show with a friend or family member that you think would enjoy what we do. Otherwise, go ahead and share our social media. It's the easiest way to support us or any content creator, and it costs you nothing at all.
Yep, word of mouth and you telling your friends about us is the best way that we gain people into our community.
Very true.
We've met so many great people, and I love it when somebody tells me that they've told somebody else to listen to our show.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they get an extra hug. And that brings us to, finally, join the AFA Vegan Voter Hub and give to them monetarily if you can. The Agriculture Fairness Alliance is lobbying on our behalf in Washington, D.C. so that our vegan voices are heard. If you want to make real change on the upcoming Farm Bill, join the Vegan Voter Hub.
And with that, it is time to sign off. You have just listened to episode 100 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast.
100, woohoo!
It's crazy. And there's nothing left to say but where cukes and compassion are always the fashion on the podcast.
Thanks, James.
Have a great week, everyone.
And thank you, Barry Manilow.
Always.
We love you.
Talk to you next Tuesday.
Bye!
The end.
Or, as with bananas and avocado, bananas? I just put banana and avocado together. Bananas. So, following heavy backlash for its meat-intensive menus in previous years...
This moment brought to you by Bosco. Thanks, Bosco.
Who is currently pummeling Sammy.
If you'd like to support the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast, well, you can do that by hopping on over to our Patreon page and becoming a patron. We have all the recipes from our vegan kitchen series up there, and we'll be adding some patron-only episodes in the near future. So thank you for supporting us at whatever level that you choose, and thank you again for listening to Compassion and Cucumbers podcast.